Hi, I'm Betty and welcome to this new video. I know my voice can sound a little weird, but I promise, I'm not a robot. Okay, maybe am I, but who cares? If I am here with you, it's only in order to answer this next question. Who are the 10 richest person of history? To establish the calculation, the time used the work of a group of economists who shed light on the comparison of wealth over time. Broadly speaking, to be relevant, we must compare the great fortunes of the past with the level of development of their time. We must add inflation to that, so that we can then compare them with the great fortunes of today. A dollar in the 18th century isn't worth a dollar today. Let's jump into it. Number 10. Genghis Khan, 1160–1227. Wealth, land, a lot of land. Genghis Khan is first and foremost the king of military conquests. As leader of the Mongolian Empire, he managed to annex a territory stretching from China to Europe, the largest empire in history, 33.2 million km superscript 2 in 1268 at its peak. Number 9. Bill Gates, 1955. Fortune, $147 billion, in 1999. While Bill Gates was recently overtaken by Amazon boss Jeff Bezos, he remains the richest man of the late 20th/early 21st century. At its highest value, the fortune of Microsoft's boss reached $101 billion, or $147 billion today. Number 8. Alain Leroux, 1040–1093. Fortune, $194 billion. He is the nephew of William the Conqueror, 1027–1087, King of England and Duke of Normandy. He took part in the Norman conquest of England and became one of the richest barons of the kingdom. Originally from Brittany, he probably participated in the Battle of Hastings, 1066. Number 7. John D. Rockefeller, 1839–1937. Fortune, $341 billion. It's skyrocketing. Rockefeller made his fortune in the oil industry. In 1880, he controlled 90% of oil production in the United States. According to the New York Times, its wealth was estimated at $1.5 billion in 1918, the equivalent of 2% of the American GDP at the time. This represents almost $350 billion today. Rockefeller is considered the first billionaire of the contemporary era. Number 6. Andrew Carnegie, 1835–1919. Fortune, $372 billion. If Rockefeller is a name well known throughout the world, Carnegie's is much less. Yet he is the wealthiest modern man of all time. This Scottish immigrant made a fortune in steel. By selling U.S. steel to J.P. Morgan for $480 million in 1901, he became the richest man in the world. His fortune represented 2.1% of the American GDP. In 2014, this represented the sum of $372 billion. Number 5. Joseph Stalin, 1878–1953. Wealth, control over 9.6% of global GDP. The little father of peoples is also one of the greatest dictators of contemporary times. Joseph Stalin had almost total control over one of the richest states in the world. The land is nationalized in its entirety, the economy and the central government are one and the same. And he is the only decision maker, eliminating his rivals as he ascends. Number 4. Akbar, 1542–1605. Wealth, control over 25% of global GDP. Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar is considered the greatest Mughal emperor. His empire covers a territory that corresponds to present-day India, but under Muslim control. The Mughals used the Mansabdar system. That is, territories on which an officer is appointed to raise the income from the land. In return for these revenues, the emperor may require soldiers according to the size of this territory. The advantage for the emperor is that these officers are not chosen in a hereditary manner, which leaves him a great deal of leeway. Number 3. Song Shenzong, 1048–1085. Fortune, control over 25–30% of global GDP. Shenzong is the 6th emperor of the Song dynasty in China. He is considered one of the fathers of the modern welfare state. It is developing major reforms to improve the condition of the peasants and the most deprived. He is also considered a great war leader. For many historians, the Song Empire is one of the most powerful empires of all time. This wealth comes mainly from its efficiency in levying taxes in addition to technological innovations, printing, astronomy, gunpowder, windmill, or the first appearance of the banknote. Only the Mongolian Empire can bring it to an end. Number 2. Augusta, 63 AV April 14th. Fortune, $4.6 trillion. Again in its time, the Roman Empire controlled almost 30% of the world's GDP. But in addition to having control over this empire, Augustus possessed a wealth beyond all understanding. It would now be worth $4.6 trillion today. For example, he owned all of Egypt as a backyard. Number 1. Mansa Musa, 1,281,337. Fortune, impossible to describe. The king of Timbuktu is considered the richest man of all time. For one simple reason, his empire in Mali was the main gold producer from 1312 to 1332, a time when the demand for gold was very high. However, his fortune remains very difficult to assess. Documents are scarce or even non-existent. There are stories of a pilgrimage to Mecca where his spending was so extravagant that it caused a monetary crisis in Egypt. We are talking about dozens of camels carrying gold in abundance. When no one is able to assess your fortune, it is because you are very, very rich. Wow, this was quick, and now everything seems more clear, doesn't it? Maybe not. Oh, it seems my battery is running low. It's time for me to go. See each other in the next video. It was Betty at your service. See you soon.